If you've been living under a rock and you've heard nothing about Sinners, sit down. Let's talk about it. To me, I do feel like Sinners was one of those movies that don't come around very often. It's very hard to find an original idea in the horror genre sometimes, because I do feel like people take ideas and they recycle them a lot, or they rewrite them to recycle them. And it's not a lot of times that you see a movie that brings its own natural elements, that it is, in Ryan Coogler's words, a full course meal by itself. We have horror, gore, we have all these different elements that are in Sinners. And the breakdown of it is insane. In this movie, Michael B. Jordan plays twins, Smoke and Stack. And the way that he separates the personalities in these, like I have sat down, I have watched interviews, when I say I dissect a movie, y'all, I dissect this movie. So in interviews, Michael B. Jordan said that when he would walk onto set as Stack, he had one mindset. He'd walk on as Smoke, a whole nother mindset. And with him doing that so seamlessly, they felt like two different people. The personalities are the same. Because y'all know when some actors play the same person, sometimes, I'm not going to get into who, but when they play the same person, it feels like the exact same person. Like there's no split. But Michael B. Jordan gave Smoke and Stack separate personalities, separate mannerisms, characteristics that one character did not have and the other character did. In the rest of this movie, we meet all the characters. We meet Annie, we meet Sammy, we meet Mary, we meet everybody. And all these characters that come together give this movie so much flavor and so much intense feeling. The character of the movie for me, honestly, was Annie. I loved Annie. She stayed true to herself to the very end. She believed what she believed. The way Ryan Coogler even set this movie up, from the shoots, from the introduction of the characters, all of these things, foreshadowing. Every picture, like with Smoke and Stack outside of the juke joint. Stack is on the outside and Smoke is on the inside. Ultimately, that shows their fates. The authenticity of the way Coogler set up the sets, the outfits, everything about that felt authentic. And sometimes, especially in this day and age, with technology, AI, everything, sometimes things don't feel authentic. They feel forced. But I feel like the way that Coogler set this set up, and he brought in these characters and the casting, but the way all of these things were set up were done to feel so authentic. About that scene where Sammy performs in the juke joint, the way they blended music throughout time and cultures and everything was insanity. You don't see that in movies. You don't. They usually take one projection, and that is the way we're going, like a train. But with Ryan Coogler, you just never quite know what direction this train is going to go. I won't be the first to deny, I fully went out and bought the Sinners soundtrack. The part where we meet Remick, okay? So Remick, old Irish vampire, fleeing from the Native Americans who are chasing him because they know exactly what he is and they know what they need to do. So he runs up on this house. So they invite him in. And then they're like, if you have this guy here, you need to let us know. Need to let us know. And they said, no, we don't have anybody like that here. No. They basically come out and said, good luck to you. Good luck. I hope you make it till morning light. We're out. Then we get to the juke. So let's talk about Remick outside the juke joint. So Sammy's power, like Sammy and his gift of amazing music, literally tears down the walls of time during his performance. And the way Coogler set this up, like, to me, that entire instance of where, like, everybody's inside, they're having a great time, and then this juke joint burning because Sammy is tearing down the walls of time. He is tearing it down because that is his gift. He has the gift of amazing music and soul and all of these things. So, and at this point, Mary goes out to try to talk to Remick and the gang, that they will be more willing to talk to me. Let me go talk to them. Let me get this money for the till. So Mary, being willing to do anything under the sun for Stack, goes out. But I mean, who thought they were going to be vampires, honestly? She gets out there and Remick and them serve her some truth. They serve her some tea and they say, girl, you're in pain that money cannot fix. And in that moment, things start getting a little creepy. Remick says, I'm sorry. I wish I could have helped your mother from her fate. And Mary is like, What are you talking about? So she goes to dip with her handy gun in the holster of the leg, which those things are fly, but she goes to flee. And in this moment, they turn her. You never actually see them turn her. But you know that this is the moment when you see Remick leap through the air. This is it. This is on. This is when we are about to kick off. Mary seamlessly gets herself inside, and she just goes up to Cornbread and she says, are you going to stand blocking the door, or are you going to let me in? He just lets her in without a moment's notice. And off to Stack she goes. And of course, we all know what happened during that scene and the juke between her and Stack. So we're just going to leave that YouTube, you know. So anyway, we come into the point where Mary has just bitten Stack. And Smoke runs in, and it is wild, and everybody is upset. One of the best moments in this movie for me is when Smoke gets Mary. And Mary gets back up and says, we gonna kill every last one of you. I thought just her delivering those lines and how just menacing cute Mary became, that was perfect. Haley Steinfeld, yes girl. Get to the point where we got dead Stack. Everybody's freaking out. We done sent everybody home, but they don't know that there's 3 vampires outside waiting to make a munch crunch of you. We done sent everybody home. We are freaking out, figuring out why Mary just bit Stack. Why did she kill him? And then Annie puts it together. They are vampires. Vampires. At this point, we're all arguing, we're all trying to figure out what's going on. Everything in the night just went haywire. We were here to have a good time, make some money, and everything goes off the rails at this point. And then, we get to the point where Stack gets up and says, let me out of here. I am your brother. Why do you have me locked in here? And Annie is telling Smoke, that ain't your brother. Don't let him out. That ain't your brother. Don't open the door. That ain't your brother no more. But we've got them outside trying to plead their case about why being a vampire is amazing. We won't be separated anymore. We are free. We don't have to suffer. None of that. Let's do this together. For a moment, you could see Smoke thought about it, because that's his brother. And he's never going to be human again. And he is telling him, we can be free, please. And you could see Smoke gave in a little bit. And if Sammy wouldn't have grabbed him, Smoke would have been out that door. He was not going to let Stack be by himself. Have thought that the vampires were the actual villains in this movie. And you start Remick starts talking, access to this man's memory. So he knows that in the morning, as soon as daylight hits, they are coming to that juke joint, and whoever is there will not make it out. And that was the plan the whole time. So here we are, and we are talking to these vampires, and they are letting you know, we are not the villains here. It is really the clan, and we can help you. We can be together. We can do all of this. You need to let us in, or you need to come out here, and we can do all of this. In this, we now know that this entire situation of this man selling the juke joint to Smoke and Stack was all just a setup, because we're going to get your money. You guys have one good night, okay? You guys make all that money you want to, and in the morning, we're going to come take everything, including your life, from you. And that was their plan the entire time. But now Smoke and Stack were smart. They came loaded with some weaponry. They were smart. They learned a lot of things from the gangsters, from the mafias that they were running with, So now we get past all of this, and when Remick is talking to Grace, he is pulling from Beau's mind. He is speaking her language, a language he wouldn't know. And this entire time in this town, the only people that spoke their language were her and her husband and her daughter. So in this moment, Grace starts losing her cool a bit. Annie is over here trying to educate them, because this smart woman that is well versed in the crafts is trying to tell them these are vampires. They have no souls left. We cannot do this. We cannot do that. She is trying to guide these people. And Grace over here is like, you're not getting my daughter. You're not getting my family. I'll die first. So then we get over to all of these points, and we're almost to the final showdown. Grace is cracking, and the vampires are outside. We are a rocky road to Dublin. Outside. Vampires are having a great shindig outside. We are throwing a party. We're having a good time. People inside are losing their minds. How are we going to get out of here? And Grace is cracking under the pressure. Where Grace cracks. She cracks, y'all. She cracks quicker than a coconut, and she is angry. She's upset. Remick knew to play her to get inside. He is a smart vampire. Opens her mouth and says, come on in, you Y'all insert the rest. And then immediately we see everybody just, we're not going to mess with Grace anymore. We got to get our weapons because it is about to be a fight. In the first 2 seconds of the fight, Grace implodes in fire as she stakes a vampire outside. Fight. We've got weapons out. We're ready to fight. Smoke is ready. Annie is ready. We are ready to fight in the juke joint, and it is all going down, and everybody is fighting, and all the vampires are fighting as one unit. They are thinking as a unit. They want to turn everybody, all of this, until one thing happens. Annie says, "Please not you," as Stack bites her, because she did not want to be a vampire. And of all people, Stack is the one that got her. And she made Smoke promise, "Don't let me be a vampire. I don't want to be a vampire. I want to go see my ancestors. Don't do this to me. My soul cannot move on." So after she is bit, Mary is up there feeding, happy, thinks that this is it, because that's all she wanted. She wanted her and Sammy and Smoke and Stack to all be together and be the family they always wanted to be but couldn't. And then boom, Smoke stakes Annie because he remembered his promise he made to her, and she wanted to go see her ancestors. And in that moment, you see Mary break from Remick's mind almost like, I don't kind of agree with you now. I agree with you on the vampire thing, but Annie, because when she is bitten, Mary is so happy because that is it, that my dreams of all of us being a family are it. And then to see Smoke stake her, Mary cries out for Annie, and her and Stack get out of there. They run out. And then we get to the part where the big battle is going on, and Smoke is fighting Stack, and Sammy is fighting for his life with Remick. Everybody is fighting for their life right now. Sunrise is on the horizon. You don't have to make it much longer. Let's go. So final battle scenes. When Smoke and Stack fought each other, Michael B. Jordan in that role, he literally made it feel like you were fighting two different people. Like, I understand he had a body double and all of those things to have the physical movements with, but I also seen the kind of camera that they attached to him and developed for this movie to where he could film those sequences looking at himself. It was insane the lengths they went to give us this kind of cinema. And then we get to the point where Smoke and Stack are fighting, and Stack is still saying, "I don't want to do this without you. You're my brother." And then when they fight, Smoke actually gets the upper hand on Stack. And I did not see that coming. And he gets the upper hand on Stack, he does. And when he does this, Smoke tells him, "I'm sorry I couldn't protect you." And Stack said the one thing he needed to say to get Smoke to let him go is, "You always did." Smoke could not kill him after that. He just could not. Like, could you kill your brother after saying that? No. And after that moment happened, in my head I was thinking, there's no way he could have really staked him, because you don't see him again until the end. So in my head, for the longest, I thought he staked him, but maybe he didn't stake him. We get to Sammy busting his instrument right up in Remick's head, and that was some of the best cinema. And then we get in to outside, and you see all these vampires seeing the sun coming up. But they are so intertwined, interlinked with all this stuff Remick has said, done, controlling them, blah, 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 that they just stay there and burn alive of Smoke and Sammy watching all of this happen. And they are mortified, like, oh my God, what has happened tonight? It is wild. And one of the things about peak cinema for this movie for me was the ending. So at this moment, Stack tells him, "Get out of here. Please get out of here. You got to go, Sammy. You got to go." So Sammy leaves, and he is making his way back to his daddy's church. And Smoke knows that the clan is coming. So he puts all of his weapons out, and he is ready to give them one hell of a fight. It's like Smoke saw Stack is gone. Stack is gone. I don't have my brother. I don't have Annie anymore. I lost my kid. Nothing. So he rips that mojo bag off. And I 100% believe that mojo bag is the reason why when they were messing around with the mafias, he didn't get hurt. Because in that moment, I feel like Smoke knew that I'm going to stop these clan guys, but I want to go be with Annie and my kid, and I want to be happy, and I'm never going to see my brother again, any of that. So then we get to it, and I know y'all have seen this. If you're living under a rock, if you haven't, but Smoke annihilates these Klansmen. He annihilates them. I'm talking about heavy artillery machine weapons for the time, all of that. And he comes out, all that. He comes out, and he is ready to give the smoke. He shoots the guy, all this stuff. And then after all of this, and he's putting on a fight and everything, they clipped him one time. They clipped him and they got him. And he protected the juke joint and all of these things. And the reason why I feel like not only was Smoke ready to go because he lost Annie, he lost his kid, and he never see his brother again, when you see the vampires burn up, like, you don't see Mary in that moment, but you most certainly do not see Stack in this, because you think he has staked Stack. That's what you think has happened. So not only is he fighting against the clan that set him up, that we're going to slaughter them come daylight just because, he is also fighting, in my opinion, because if he didn't stake Stack, then where was Stack? The sun is up. There's nowhere to run off to. Stack's still inside the juke joint. He locks the doors and everything so they could not get inside because that sunlight would have killed his brother. So not only did he fight for revenge, he still fought to protect Stack. The ending, and the way they did the ending, like, you fight through this whole movie and you're invested in these characters, and the only one that really makes it out alive is Sammy. And we'll get to what happens to Mary and Stack in a second, but you see Annie and she dies. And then you also see Smoke, who has lost everything. He lost his Annie. He can never be with his brother again. Essentially alone in this world. But then you see in the end, as he is dying, he sees Annie and their daughter. Annie tells him, put that cigarette out because I don't want you to get none of that smoke on her. It's not just the smoke from the cigarette. It is who Smoke became when he left Annie and their home. You can see the newspapers and the article clippings. I told y'all, I invest time into eyeballing these things. Clippings, how the Italian mob and the Irish mob now have conflicts going on because one thinks one's robbing the other and this and that. And to Mary, what happened, why they came back, why they aren't in Chicago anymore. And in that, I thought, when you're looking at all these newspaper articles and things, you're seeing how tensions are rising between the Italian mob and the Irish mob. And this happened and that happened. All to do with the mob and all of these things because Smoke and Stack were robbing the Irish mob or the Italian mob at any given moment. To me, in my opinion, that is why Smoke and Stack ended up coming home for the juke in the first place. Because they were out there in Chicago, not only robbing the Italian mob, but they were robbing the Irish mob as well, and making it look like I couldn't rob you, I was with you the whole time. I couldn't rob you, I was with you the whole time. And each time, that mafia had no idea about the other's twin brother. So they had to book it, because it was only going to be a matter of time before that revelation came to light. Into all those little articles and things like that, through the captions, all those things, because they say all about the tensions. And to me, that's what I think that meant, and that's the whole reason why they came back in the first place, is because they needed somewhere to escape to, because this was about to hit the fan. Now we get to the end, and we see Sammy and go into his daddy's church, and for a moment there, I thought, geez, did the scratch turn him? Did it do something to him? Did it anything? What happened? But he's able to walk inside, and his dad wants him to put down his instrument. He says, basically, did you learn your lesson? Now, was I not right about you keep on playing music, the devil's going to come for you? Was I not right? But Sammy doesn't. Sammy gets out of there and he takes off. And then we come to the point where we get some mid-scene credits and a post-scene credit. On our mid-scene credit, to me, sums up everything, and it was the perfect circulation of any questions that I needed answered. So in this, we see Sammy. Sammy is grown. Sammy is an old man. He is he's going toward the end of his life, all these things, and he's sitting in a bar where he's been playing, and his security guard says, I have people that want to meet you. They're willing to pay good money, all of these things. And Sammy says, all right, send them in. So you hear the security guard say, come on in. And then instantly I thought, who is this? Because you never did see what happened to Smoke or Stack. Now, did I see this one coming? No, I did not. But brilliant, Ryan Coogler. Brilliant. But anyway, we get to this point, and in the doors come Stack and Mary. Like, decked out in the Times, hottest clothes, all those things. They come in for Sammy. And the look on Sammy's face is wild. And you can see their eyes glaring because they're having to wear their sunglasses. And when they pop them down, you can literally see their fangs and see their eyes still glaring. This whole conversation, Sammy is like, how? So then in this, you find out when all of that is happening with Remick and Sammy is outside battling Remick And all the other vampires just watching this, because Remick wants to be the one to change him, turn him, all that, because he wants Sammy's magic. You see Mary run off into the woods, and Mary was able to find somewhere to shelter down and be safe. And then you see Stack, and he says, I was the one person he just couldn't kill. So Stack, I'm telling you, Stack was in that juke joint, held out, waiting for nightfall. See this whole exchange between them, and after you find out what happened to Mary, Stack tells him, when Sammy's like, how? Stack tells him, I was the one person he just couldn't kill, but he made me promise to stay away from you. And Stack did. He stayed away from Sammy, and he rolls up on him, and he smells death lingering on him. And he tells him, I can make this where you can keep touring, keep making music, keep everything. Keep it all. Keep doing it. And Sammy just doesn't want to, because he says he's had enough of this world. He's seen enough. He's done enough. He's done. He's ready to move on. And Stack respects it. And he asks him if he's still got the reel in him, because he hates that electric shit. And Sammy plays on that instrument, the exact one that split Remick's dome in half. That was the perfect ending to this movie, because you find out that Mary and Stack are off living their vampire dreams together, and they got to be together like they always wanted. Sammy got out of there. Sammy became somebody. Get to the end of the movie, and Stack is talking to Sammy, and Sammy asks him, before the sun went down, I'm pretty sure that was the best day of my life. Was that way for you? Like, even questioning, like, is my memories, even though that was the worst night ever, the day was beautiful? Like, is that wrong? And Stack just replies, no, that he agreed, because that was the last day that he saw his brother, the last day he saw the sun, and for a little while they were all free. And to me, I feel like that sums up this movie so well, because the moral of the story was they wanted to be free. They wanted somewhere to be free. They didn't want to be in this place. They were segregated. They had the Klan constantly on them. They did not have freedom. They didn't feel free. They were oppressed. All of the story is the vampires, to me, in this movie were not the real villains, because in horror movies, once the villain is dead, the movie wraps up at that point. You say your goodbyes to the characters, you see how things play out, all those things. But we still had a whole last act after Remick died, and that was with Smoke fighting the Klan. So throughout this whole thing, to me, the vampires weren't even the enemy. The vampires were the ones that were offering peace, and even though it comes to you in a very brutal way, we can bring everybody together and everybody will be happy. But the real villains in this movie were indeed the Klan. The Klan started from the beginning. They set up the juke joint. They wanted to kill everybody, all of these things. And if Remick would not have showed up, everyone would have died when the morning hit anyway, because that was the plan. And Remick stopped that plan from happening, but they were still going to show up. So Smoke made a final stand and gave Sammy his freedom. Sammy left, and he's with Annie. So again, if you have not seen Sinners, definitely check it out. Original movies are hard to come by, and this one, Ryan Coogler knocked it out of the park. So thank you very much for tuning in to my review, my recap of Sinners. So definitely check it out. And if you like to hear about movies, let me be your movie girl and subscribe to my channel.